I started to realize that we're kind of like a startup, right? In this charity knot. If we don't do something now about the mental health crisis, this is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar problem for the economy as a whole. Over the course of the last couple of years, the money that we've been able to generate has in turn done close to $1 million, if not more.
We are impacting people in a pretty cool way, considering we're just two people.
Exactly.
This is The Long Run. I'm Sachin Latti, 48 years old, and I just ran over 3,700 kilometers across Canada, averaging 50 kilometers a day to raise awareness and funds for mental health. Along the way, we had thousands of conversations with Canadians, from first responders to everyday people, about what's really going on beneath the surface. This podcast isn't just about running, it's about resilience, purpose, and how we learn to keep moving forward in the long run.
So where were we last time? We were in Kelowna. All right. Heading to Vernon.
Ran straight to Vernon because I think it was like a 50-kilometer run.
Dude, you ran straight to Vernon, and I think this was the time when your body was just kind of like getting into the rhythm. So that day was like you were just like flying through.
It was interesting.
Which was insane.
No, it was interesting. I think some of the adaptations started happening, and maybe I had a good night's sleep. I don't know. But I remember that day, man. It was super hot.
Yeah.
And running straight on the highway, right?
Yeah.
And it, what I remember is that it felt good.
Yeah.
Just felt, okay, cool, man.
Yeah.
Let's keep rolling.
Awesome. This brings us to episode, I think this is going to be episode 9.
If you say so. I'm losing track, bro. We just keep doing them.
It's, the episodes are coming together, and forgive us because we just like finished a whole day of just like a bunch of meetings.
Yeah.
Super excited. Do you want to talk a little bit about what we have planned?
Yeah, man. I think, look, what we've really, like anything, when you're really focused on doing something, you're kind of in the weeds and just kind of plugging away. And last week, you were like, hey, man, let's just sit down and figure out what we actually want to do next steps. And you know, just sit for a moment, don't do anything, and just talk about what feels good and what do we feel like the next direction is. And so we did that, right? And we sat down last week. We thought, okay, what do you like to do? What do I like to do? What do we like to continue to do? And so we refined all those things. We sat with it, and then we spent about 2 days just figuring out, okay, what are our next steps? Because for me, I fall into what I naturally would do. And so we're thinking about, you know, what is Such going to do? What does he want to do? I think about doing this run, do that run, all these things that I'm traditionally used to doing. And having that pattern interrupt or that stop moment where we can kind of just sit back and reflect, okay, what are we trying to do?
Yeah.
How do we want to do it? And let's start creating a plan around that. And so that's what we did.
Exactly. I think like when we look back at the run itself gave us a grassroots view of the scale of the mental health challenge across our country, right? Being in all these towns and cities and engaging with so many different kinds of communities and different kinds of people, there hasn't been anyone else in, I would say, the history of the country who's done what we've been able to do in the way we've done it. And I thought that's pretty unique. And going through the run itself, I remember putting a face and a sense of scale to the mental health crisis that we all just know by statistics, but actually seeing it for real. So as we kind of started to do our own thing and kind of plug away at a campaign, I started to realize that we're kind of like a startup, right? In this charity, non-for-profit space. I like to think of it as impact work, because when you think, you know, that's how I like to think of it.
Yeah.
So especially after the run, the last 6 months for me has really been, as you're building up any kind of startup or any kind of business, you're searching for like a product market fit. You're looking for avenues to where can I be most effective? How can I serve as many people as I can? And we've sort of been in that process, and some things have worked, some things haven't worked. We tried to build out a course to see if we could sell that course to people. We have the course, but we realized that selling it isn't the right way to go about it. So as we were kind of plugging away, and anybody who's been an entrepreneur, even a charity in the space, sometimes there are points where you feel that frustration. And so it was just a question, for me, it was a question of let's stop and explore what that frustration is. So it was a great conversation. We were right here in Friends Quarters. Quick plug for Friends Quarters. If you're looking for an awesome co-working space in downtown Vancouver, check out this space. It's amazing. And so we just put down everything that we've been doing. And so if you want to talk a little bit about what it is that we've actually been doing, apart from just doing a podcast, because there's a lot of work happening behind the scenes.
Well, I mean, like you can imagine, I've been in the space for about 5 or 6 years now. You've been in it for about a year, just over a year. And so what we've been doing is looking at, okay, who have we impacted already? What kind of people have been impacted? And also then we sat down thinking about what our plan should be. And so those types of things require resources, money, network, connections, all of these different types of things. And so we sat down thinking about, okay, who do we need to speak to?
Yep.
Who do we need to have conversations with? Who do we need to get in front of to share what we've already achieved in the last 5 years? And who can support us, help us from various different ways into the future and the next 3, 5, 10, 15 years. And so what that looked like for us over the last few weeks was just having conversations, having meetings. And so we've been having back-to-back meetings with various different types of people, both from a corporation, organizational perspective, and then from individuals, and really getting a clear look as to the scale of the problem, who are the people in our space and network, and how can we leverage those people, those pieces, to impact more. And so in a vague sort of 30,000 foot view perspective, that's what we've been doing.
Yeah. And so what you can expect more of us as we kind of continue to build out our work and our foundation is really 3 things. So first is obviously content. I think content is a great way to reach a ton of different kinds of people, and your story of resilience and taking care of your mental health, the way you did it at the age you did it, I think fundamentally is a story that has already inspired thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands, and we continue to do that, right? The second pillar obviously is, as we've over the last 6 months, and what we also did through the run by holding space for thousands of Canadians, we kind of built out a set of, I would say, first principles on how people can do things to improve their mental health. And the course that you had built, we realized that we don't want to profit off it. We just needed to impact people. So we've decided to offer that course for free. So we're going to be announcing a youth and men's mental health program. It's going to be a 6-week program. Stay tuned for more updates, but just giving you guys a sense of what's coming up beyond just, 2 of us talking about the run. And I'm excited for that. I think it's going to impact a ton of people. And the third is just continuing to do fundraising and impact investing. When we did some rough math over the week, we'd realized that over the course of the last couple of years, the money that we've been able to generate and donate, and I prefer the term invest, has in turn done close to $1 million, if not more, of further fundraising. And the impact we've been able to generate across thousands of different kinds of people, 5,000 plus first responders, etc., I think is really cool. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's the work, right? And for us to do that at the scale at which we are, because we're small, we're just starting out, I'm excited to see how this shapes up over the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah, man. When we started having this conversation last week, it's funny, man. I haven't really stopped and reflected on all of the metrics from a social impact perspective that I was doing from 2021 to 2025, 4. And then when you came in, all that impact that's been generated. So we kind of sat down, figured that out to a certain degree. And that impact from a nonprofit and a charity space is everything. Yeah. That's everything when it comes to this world. And so we are now really refining the amount of impact we've generated over 5 years, and so that we can now have those deeper conversations with corporations, companies, people that want to fund and support the continued work that we're doing, because we are impacting people in a pretty in a pretty cool way, considering we're just two people.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think before we jump into the Vernon piece, and it all comes down to our why. And I truly believe, like we truly believe, that we're entering a space and time in our history where if we don't do something now about the mental health crisis, this is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar problem for the economy as a whole. Apart from how many human lives it's going to impact, right? We know that 60% of Canadians are going to struggle with mental health at some point in their life. We know that 75% of people who commit suicides are men. But there's so much about the problem that we just don't know about, right? And like we keep saying, like how when Terry Fox ran for cancer over 40 years ago, we didn't think of cancer as big of a problem as it was. Mental health is our modern day cancer.
100%.
And so we need folks like us, more folks like us, and also organizations that are currently doing the work. They need more support as well. And so for us to commit a big part of our existence to making a small dent in this crisis is something I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I'm excited too, man. I think on that note, let's have a conversation about how Vernon was and the impact that it had on not only us, but maybe some of the impact that we had while we were there.
What do you remember from that day going to Vernon?
So as you asked me that, the first thing I feel is a positive sort of vibe and feeling. It was a hot day. I was feeling good on the run, and it just so happened it was like almost an exact 50K from Kelowna to Vernon, and it was straight on the highway. And so I was hammering pretty decently, as I recall, and it was feeling not as bad as it had been. And I suspect part of that has to do with the pivot that we actually refined and decided, okay, this is how we're going to do things, because those pressures and stressors were affecting my performance and my sleep and all that kind of stuff. So it was a beautiful day. It was hot. Our team was starting to get a bit smaller because we had a bunch of people to begin with. And then as we started moving further into the Okanagan, some of the teammates, have lives. And so they went back to their lives. And so that's the initial thought. First off the top of my head, great day, feeling pretty decent, hammering pretty good, moving at a good pace, ran 50K. And then, so I think, once we got to Vernon, I think I ended with just over 60 kilometers or something.
Yeah. I remember because it was just the next day after that time we spent with Mitch and his family, right? And as grounding as that day was, it was also extremely positive because I think we all felt as a team, as a collective, that, this is the right way to go. We need to go into towns and meet as many people as possible and have as much engagement with as many people as possible. And that day was what we eventually didn't want to do, which was a highway run, but you hammered on the highway that day. But coming into town that day at Vernon was a special run. And we have a couple of clips and let's kind of explore, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and eventually lead down to what actually happened in Vernon.
Sure.
So this is our first story from the day.
Yeah, there's Jared, there's Amelia.
All right, day 8, run across. 9. Oh, shit. It's day 9 of running across Canada, and we're running to Vernon today. Got a decent.
There's
nice
Quinton's
sleep last
bike
night.
as well.
Connected with some awesome people. Now we're ready to rock. 50K to Vernon. When we get to Vernon, we'll run around, and then I think meet up with a run club in the evening. So let's go.
Yeah, I mean, right there you can see I'm feeling pretty decent. I said right off the bat, had a good night's sleep. So, I mean, for me, I could even just feel how I was feeling right there. I was feeling pretty decent. And then the pacing was, was faster, I think, than I had been really for the first 8 days. So I was feeling decent, man.
I remember this shot in particular as we were coming through. I think one of Jared's relatives got us a bunch of Okanagan cherries.
Oh, really?
Dude, those cherries are so good.
Yeah, man. I mean, that highway is pretty straightforward, too. It's nothing too crazy. There we go.
Yeah, so at this point in time,
The
we
canvas
were...
corner.
What would happen was we just get on the highway. So there you go. I think that's
Yeah.
Jared's aunt, and they bought us some Okanagan cherries. We'd be a couple of clicks ahead of you on
Yeah.
the side of the road, station, safe, tracking you. And then just you'd run, and, you know, we'd start to build a routine. So shoot some content with you coming in, checking how you're doing, get you your water and your hydration.
Yeah, and this is where I'm starting to refine my pacing. You know, I would run 500 meters, maybe run 600 meters, speed walk 400 meters. It was just finding that balance. And that day, the balance just felt pretty decent, man. And you know what? When I'm around a good environment, the weather's nice, it looks beautiful out. I mean, look at that, man. Like it just felt good, as good as it could feel at that stage. And I was just in the moment. It was like, I mean, look, man, like we're in the Okanagan, man, running from Kelowna to Vernon. It felt, honestly, that was probably one of the best days I had from a running perspective overall. Like, as I'm reflecting back, it was one of the better ones.
All right. And then as we were coming into Vernon, this was what it led up to, was this moment right here. I'm going to pause right here. What was her name?
Michelle.
So this is what it came down to. Michelle had reached out and invited us to her run club. And again, just before this, we had made that pivot saying we're going to go into towns and engage with people. How did we meet Michelle? How did she reach out? What was that about?
I think she reached out on Instagram, and she saw that we were coming to town. She had mentioned, she dropped a DM saying, hey, she's a paramedic. She's been involved in as a first responder for many years. She understands why we're doing what we're doing, and she could relate to it. And she mentioned that she has a run club that she joins in the evening. She invited us to come join that run club, and then afterwards go for ice cream. And I think it was gelato, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so this was us meeting up towards the end with their run club. I think we ran 5 or 10K with them. And there was 2 groups. One was the faster group. One was the slower group. I think I can't remember which group I was in. Probably the slower one.
No, you were in the faster one because I was in the slower one.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. So she, I mean, it was cool, man. Like, it was nice to be around a bunch of people. This was probably the first run club I think we met up with.
The first one.
First one. And they were awesome. They were all asking great questions. They all were engaged in why we were doing it. And thanks to Michelle for inviting us. It was cool to meet.
Yeah.
And I think she presented me with a challenge coin there.
She
too.
did.
Yeah.
She did. So this was the video from that day.
So we're here in Vernon today, fortunate enough to be connected with Michelle, who reached out. So as you guys know, we've kind of made a bit of a pivot with the structure of our run. We're now going to towns, running to towns and spending time in those towns with people. And we came to Vernon because Michelle reached out to us through social and invited us to come on her with a run club.
This is Sachin, and Sachin is running across Canada for mental health. So he's come to join us tonight.
I ran from Kelowna to Vernon and then met up with Michelle in the run club here at Starting Block, and we did a 5-6K together, and yeah, man, we had awesome conversations about mental health and got to meet Michelle, who's the one who invited us, so it's been awesome.
I am just so proud of Sachin and what he's bringing across the country and the awareness, because mental health affects all of us, and I'm passionate as a fellow first responder. Every time we put on a uniform and go to work, and sometimes we come home a different person than when we left that day in the uniform. And so I just think having this conversation, bringing the awareness, and let's normalize mental health. The message to the world is reach out, and if you get a no or you don't get help from the first person you ask, you keep asking until you find your support system and your tribe. You're not alone in this.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. That brought me back. That was so cool. She was cool, man, and she was so well spoken, man. Like, I mean, you'd think she'd been on camera forever.
Yeah. How does that make you feel?
Oh man, I feel awesome. Like I said, I've said it on other podcasts, but I was in such a different headspace there. Like, I don't know if I could fully appreciate what was actually happening. But I do now. Like she took time out of her own day to reach out to us, to invite us, because she saw what we were doing and she believed in it and she wanted to support it. So this is what we've seen across the country. Vernon, Kelowna, and you'll see weeks ahead, all the different cities, all of these things were happening. And so that's what precipitated our conversation last week, to sit down and be like, man, we connected with so many amazing people. How do we continue to service them and support and scale what we've done, rather than thinking about just, what challenge is such going to do next? Like, who freaking cares? I mean, I get the sentiment, but for me, it's more about, like, and we'll still do challenges, but the focus and primary focus is everyone else first. How do we keep doing exactly what we're doing?
Exactly.
And just like people like Michelle.
Because this day in particular, what I remember, obviously Michelle kind of inviting us to a run club, and then that's a little sequence there where we met up with the runners in that running store, and the amount of support that they gave you when they heard you were running across the country, and they were asking you all these questions, and that precipitated a conversation about mental health. And while you were up in front there with Michelle talking about like her struggles and what she's been through, and she's been through a lot as a first responder, as many of them have, I was in the back with a bunch of different aunties, some Asian aunties, some Latino aunties, talking about what we've learned so far. So it was such a positive experience in little town Vernon. It was amazing.
Yeah, actually, it's a good point, man. It is a small town, and small towns are affected by mental health no less than a big town.
Yeah,
and we clearly saw that when we were in Vernon. And to be honest, I was I don't want to say shocked. I was a little surprised to see tent cities in Vernon, and the homelessness crisis in Vernon, and the addiction issues in Vernon. I know maybe I'm a little blind, I don't know, but I didn't expect to see the scale of the mental health crisis in Vernon that way.
Yeah.
And so we saw that pretty much day after day as we ran across the country. And so, people might think, because as we were discussing how we want to keep doing the work that we're doing, who are we, right? We're not doctors, we're not physicians, we're not any of that, but we are people who actually have been across the country.
Yeah.
Specifically looking at this issue, and we do have a perspective that maybe some others might not be able to have because of the close proximity of each individual that we connected with.
Absolutely.
And then obviously with our own life experiences and all of those things. So I think it's a unique perspective that we have because we've been across the country and spoke to thousands of people and saw similarities across the board.
Exactly.
And so we have a very clear picture on what we can do to help.
Yeah. And that's pretty much how we ended the day.
Yeah.
The next day we went up to Revelstoke, nothing much to report except for what happened in Revelstoke. So if you want to talk about what we're going to be doing on our next episode, and we're really excited to make that happen.
Yeah, man, I'm stoked. And this is kind of the next phase of the podcast, so to speak, where we're going to connect with Mike. So Mike is from Revelstoke, I believe. Mike Brown, right? Mike. So he's from Revelstoke. I met him actually a few years ago. I met him in 2023 when I was running across the province. I started in Revelstoke. I ran 22 consecutive marathons across the province. My vehicle broke down in Revelstoke the first day, so we couldn't even drive. So we stayed in Revelstoke for 3 days or so. And there was a massive forest fires that were going on in the area. So the smoke was out of control. So the first day I ran outside in the smoke, got a couple nosebleeds. And then I was thinking, man, I'm just starting off. I'm getting all busted up. Man, maybe I should find a gym here and run a marathon maybe for a day or two on the treadmill. And then once the vehicle gets fixed, we can move on to the next town. So that gym I found, that's where Mike was. And so I saw him, he saw me, we kind of connected, had a very brief conversation, and he started following the journey. Fast forward a couple years to running across the country. Revelstoke, he invited us over for a breakfast. So we connected, we had that conversation. So for us, we really wanted to take this podcast to another level where we can share other people's stories.
Exactly.
And share the impact they might have had from a mental health perspective. And so he's coming down to Vancouver. We're flying him out. We're going to bring him in studio. We're going to have a conversation about what was it about the run that kind of resonated with him? What was it about the run I did the first time, the 22 marathons, what resonated with him? And what's going on in his life that impacted him so much, and what he's continuing to do to help others
Exactly.
in the world that he's in. And so this is what it's about.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm excited to have Mike on, and our next episode is going to be that. And that's it.
That's all we got for today. Fast and Furious, get it done. We'll for the next podcast. Don't want to ruin any surprises, but we're gonna have a slightly different vibe, slightly different look. We want to scale things. We're always trying to think about how to do things better. We're always trying to improve whatever we're doing. So please, if you guys see any gaps that we have or any suggestions, drop us a DM, provide a comment. But some of the things that people have been suggesting, which were positive criticisms, we're taking those and we're going to be applying those for the next episode, and you might see a bit of a different look.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to continue to support the work that we're doing, please consider making a donation. You can do so at sachinmotion.com. And yeah, you get a tax receipt for all your donations, and it goes towards awesome causes and mental health impact. So
just real quickly, I want to just speak because I don't know if we spoke about this yet. A couple of weeks ago, I went to join the Wounded Warriors BC Run.
Right.
And for me, that was got Wounded Warriors Canada on. One of the charities that we support and love what they do. And so we felt super honored to be part of that because we ended up being a supporter of the event, sponsored the event with a donation. And so when we are asking people, hey, let us continue to do the work that we're doing, what we are going to be doing is looking for these different types of organizations on how we can impact or provide some support and scale that impact even further.
Absolutely.
So we spent, I ran 13K with them on their last day. It was 8 runners, 800 kilometers over 8 days. And they ran from Port Hardy, British Columbia to Victoria, BC. And with our donation that we gave, it helped them raise $280,000.
Amazing.
And that $280,000 services all trauma-exposed professionals on Vancouver Island, which numbers around 5,000 to 6,000 people. So for us, when people make a donation to us and they get their tax receipt, we are looking for organizations like this at the grassroots level, doing work in the place, giving them support, and not just writing a check, but actually going there, being part of the process. Just wanted to drop that because it was super impactful for me. I loved that environment. All of those runners were amazing. The amount of funds that were raised for the people that are going to definitely need it. And path forward, man. Super excited.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, super excited for our next steps. And we'll see you on episode 10 with Mike Brown.
And we keep moving always forward, man. That's all we do.
Awesome.